Hello, welcome to another episode of Swapping Joysticks. It is, what is it? It's the 17th of May, 2024. I'm your host, Biggest Bennett, and joining me as always is...
Me?
Who are you?
Ed Knights.
What do you do?
I'm a
What do you do?
journalist. What do
Journalist
you
for you.
do successfully?
Not much. Not much. I get out of bed occasionally, and that's about it.
Yeah, really.
But yeah, welcome. We're going to be talking about lots of video games. Going to be talking about things happening in the news, what we've been playing, and we're also going to chat a little bit about the theatre. Because we went to the theatre on Tuesday, which was my normal stream day, but I didn't stream because we went to see Romeo and Juliet, aka Tom Holland's Romeo and Juliet.
Yes, Tom Holland.
Or Tom Holland in Romeo and Juliet. Yeah, he didn't write it. He's a very, very good actor, but I don't know how much his playwright skills are.
Turns out he is a good actor. Who knew?
I did.
I definitely didn't.
Admire his acting very much in Spider-Man.
I don't think you've admired much of his acting.
I admire definitely his acting. He's got skills. He can...
Excuse me?
Yeah. He can do that. Quick flick of the wrist and
you're...
There's a mess.
You're a mess.
Yeah. Anyway, gosh. No, he's
Welcome
very,
to
very
Swapping
talented. Wow.
Joysticks.
The people from my work that watch this podcast, this is going to be.
And now they'll know you even better.
Jesus. Anyway, how did you find it, Gus?
Sorry, I was about to have my tea, but it's too hot.
Ed is a former... I feel really big on this camera right now. Ed is a
Well, you are Biggest
I'm just
Bennett.
going to go and zoom you in a bit.
Well, I was going to say...
There you go.
Yeah.
I had to move you.
It's almost like I said that before we started.
Well, you did, but I was zooming myself. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I was... Yeah, you're very hard to please. I mean, in many ways, but especially with the theatre.
Wow.
Because you used to have a blog, didn't you, where you used to review...
I did, and I reviewed for
trips.
some other places as well.
Okay. Where have you reviewed for?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Did you review for Woman and Home?
No.
Good Housekeeping?
No.
What other places have theatre reviews? The Times?
Well, like theatre websites.
Oh, like What's On? Time Out?
What's on Stage?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Don't think I did write for What's on Stage.
Time Out?
No, I did write for The Stage, and that is the most prestigious theatre magazine.
Didn't they give a very good review for Standing at the Sky's Edge?
Probably.
Which is a very good musical we're going to go and see again.
There you go. Anyway, yeah, I used to review theatre stuff before I did gaming.
So, in other words, your view on Romeo and Juliet is the definitive view.
I mean, let's not go that far. But yes.
Okay. What did you think to it?
At all. I fucking loved it. I had a great time.
Was it worth me getting up at like 7 a.m. to get in the queue for the tickets?
You did not get up that early, did you?
I definitely got up like way before it was to get in the queue.
Well, thanks for that.
It's fine.
It's appreciated.
I bet.
Yeah, it was really good. I didn't know much about it. I mean, obviously, I know Romeo and Juliet.
Spoiler, they both die.
Yeah.
And there's no change here.
It's a tragedy.
Have you ever seen a version of Romeo and Juliet where they don't die, where they're like...
No, because then it wouldn't be Romeo and Juliet, would it?
Well, sometimes they have different, interpretations.
No. They must die.
Okay. I bet
they must die.
Is there a Disney version? Imagine they wouldn't die in the Disney version.
Well, if you want to be technical, then West Side Story is based on Romeo and Juliet, and at the end of that, they don't die.
Oh, well, I thought it was just dancing.
No, you just didn't watch it properly.
I watched the first 15 minutes, and they're all tap dancing, and I was like, nah, I can't be doing with this, and turned it off.
Best bit.
No, it's just too much. I don't watch West Side. I want story. It's got story in the name. It's not West Side tap dancing, is it?
It is story told through the medium of dance, and if you can't appreciate that...
Just tell it through words. That's what stories are.
How about both?
No, I'm okay. Anyway.
I'm determined to force you to watch West Side Story at some point.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good. It's so good.
What do they sing?
Loads
tomorrow,
of stuff.
Tomorrow.
No, not that.
No. West End
Somewhere.
Boys. Somewhere. That one?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was like Annie or Oliver.
Annie?
Yeah.
No.
That's the one I'm thinking
It's
of.
West Side Story.
Oh, I like that song.
Oh, okay. Something you like from it then.
Yes. I will just listen to that song.
And Maria?
How do you solve a problem like Maria?
Wrong one.
No.
And other stuff.
Oh, the
Blondie. Oh, it's so good. Anyway, that's based on Romeo and Juliet.
Oh.
So yes. Anyway, Shakespeare, proper play. So I knew nothing about this production apart from it's Jamie Lloyd, who has directed a lot of stuff in the West End over the years. And I guess we'll just get this out of the way first. They released the casting beforehand, so that we knew that it was Tom Holland, and that was the big thing. They didn't say anyone else. And Juliet is played by a black actress, and I have forgotten her name. Francesca. Hang on, I now want to look this up because I want to get it right.
Yes. Also, there are other cast in there. There was one guy that I recognized, who another name I can't remember, but he plays one of the teachers in Heartstopper, one of the gay teachers in Heartstopper. So I saw him, and the entire first half of the play, it was just me going like, where the fuck do I know him from? I I recognize him so much. And then at the break, I kind of Googled and I was like, oh my God, of course. It's the guy from Heartstopper.
Yeah. So it's Tom Holland as Romeo, and then Juliet is Francesca Amawuda Rivers.
And she was brilliant.
She was so good.
And I know like everybody bought the tickets because they saw Tom Holland. And I'm not putting them down because literally they hadn't released the other names. They just said, hey, Tom Holland is in this. Go and book your tickets. And then they released the cast list afterwards.
Yeah.
But like she was fantastic. But afterwards we went, we were leaving and there was loads of people crowded around the stage door outside. So we thought, you know what, we'll wait as well. Why not? And after about 10 minutes, he got out. Everyone screamed.
We caught a glimpse of Tom.
Well, we did for the entire show we were watching.
He winked at us.
He smiled at me. He smiled at me during the play a few times.
He winked and waved at me.
He didn't. And then when he left, after he'd left, Francesca came out to like give a quick wave and go back in because I don't think she was ready to leave. And she got just as loud a cheer. Like people
deserved.
Yeah.
Absolutely deserved.
They were all real. Every single actor I thought was like played a blinder.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess we'll just quickly address the discourse because the discourse is ridiculous around this play.
Of course it is.
So they announced Tom Holland, didn't say anyone else, and then they later announced the cast with Francesca. And obviously there are a load of idiots who have decided to be horribly racist and say that Juliet can't be black. And that is fucking ridiculous. And I would love to know what they think about the fact that originally Juliet was probably played by a man.
Exactly. It's like,
300 years ago. Or however long it was.
But there's so many different interpretations. Somebody was saying in the chat, I think, or it might have been you, been like, Disney could do a mouse version. Like they could do a version and have all the characters as mice. Like it doesn't matter. It's interpreted in so many different ways is Shakespeare. And the fact that one of the main characters might be black, if that blows your mind, then you need to get out more. And you need to
absolutely get the fuck out more.
Yeah.
Also, people are like, excuse me, the original, they're all white. And their idea of the original is the Baz Luhrmann 1995 film. Go fuck yourself.
I saw so many people comparing like the images of like what it was like in the Baz Luhrmann film, and I'm like, you know that Shakespeare didn't direct that. Yeah,
he died a long time ago, I'm afraid.
Yeah, no, I got really annoyed because during the break, during the interval, I was really, really enjoying it. And I just put a tweet out saying like, oh, this is fantastic, this is incredible, and I put a picture of it so people would be like, oh yeah, it's the Tom Holland one, because I don't want to be like, oh, it's with Tom Holland because. Yes, it is with Tom Holland, but everybody's really good, and I don't want to just single him out. So I put the picture up there. And I'd say like, it got like 500, 600 likes, about 20, 30 replies. And I'd say 80% of those replies are just horrible racism. And like absolute strong racism. I don't know, maybe it's never been like that, but I always thought like about 10 years ago, if you accuse someone of being racist or someone's like been racist, that's like a really bad thing. Whereas I feel like people now, they take it as kind of a badge of pride. That they're just wearing it and being like, yeah, I am. So what? And it's
God, I hate people.
It is like disgusting. And I remember the days as well, only a few years ago, before a certain person bought Twitter, that like racist stuff would get someone banned. They would get their accounts deleted and permanently suspended
as it should.
If they posted stuff that's like half as vile as what's been sent. And like it was sent to me, but I'm obviously like I'm not a victim of racism, obviously. But like so. I can't imagine what it's like if someone dares to be black and likes this because they're just going to get inundated with even more. There was some homophobia stuff that some guy just replied with "shut the fuck up" to me saying, "Hey, I really enjoyed this."
Wow.
Like they just replied "STFU." I was like, "Oh, they literally cannot stand that somebody might like something that a black person is in it."
Yeah.
Is in. It's just there were a lot of people that had like American Patriot
I'm just
profiles.
adjusting my cushion.
Oh, have you got? Is it your piles again?
No, it's more that it's hot and I need to get the towel out for the seat.
Oh wow. But there were a lot of people with like
Sorry, serious topic.
American Patriots. I saw like 2 or 3 accounts that had that like in there, and they had like a Bible verse and America, MAGA, and all that stuff. And I'm like, this is a play written by a very famous Englishman, probably the most famous Englishman ever.
Yeah.
It's set in
Verona.
It's set in Verona, but it's very, very British. We'll go on to that. But it's like a British cast, or like it's not America. Why are you in? Why you're never going to come over here and watch this? So why are you getting really angry about?
You probably don't have a passport, mate.
Well, we won't go into that. But it just
Sorry.
it just annoyed me so much that these people can't just see a black person existing and having a job without them being like having to reply to something and show their asses.
It's fucking awful. I also had some racist responses and I reported them to Twitter. And then they came back and said, "Oh, this doesn't violate anything." I'm like, "Yes, it fucking does."
It was I won't say
we
what
won't
it was.
say what it was, but like, it's just
it was an incredibly racist trope, as if like one of the worst you can think of, and apparently that doesn't break their rules. Because I reported it as well, and I think Monty did too, and we're like, what?
So anyway, there is a lot of discourse around this production,
which there shouldn't be. The discourse
should not be, and it's very undeserved. But just be aware that. I don't know if you're posting about this online or
just get ready to block
don't
people.
Go on social media about this play.
I'll do and like drown those people out.
All that, yeah.
There are a lot of people like he got the hundreds and hundreds of likes from loads of really big fans of Tom Holland. And somebody quote tweeted it actually saying like, "Oh, they're so glad that Francesca did really well." And I replied to them saying like, "Yeah, she was fantastic." And like there are people out there. It's a bit like we'll talk about it maybe later about that Riot the video of the streamer who dared to have voiceover.
I wasn't planning on bringing that up, but we can.
We'll do it in the news because there are so many people that are just showing their asses, and I feel like the discourse is just getting worse and worse.
Yeah, it really is.
And the more I see people like it just going down the toilet, I'm in 2 minds. One mind is like, I'm really looking forward to like this really young generation to just ditch social media, and I think they'll like move on. Twitter's not going to be around forever at all, especially the way it's going. People will move on to stuff. They're going to go like, oh, shall I go and join Twitter where it's just full of hate and like anger and people getting really stressed out and something that's really bad for your mental health? Or shall I not? Whereas we've kind of grown up with Twitter being there and being like a place for news and a bit of debate and following people. And it was a generally nice place when it first started out. And it's become so bad. Like if I wasn't on Twitter and I didn't need it for anything, then I wouldn't join it. Like it's just a horrible, toxic hellhole.
Yeah.
So I'm like, will this younger generation now? Can't wait for them also to be like in power and places because it's just so miserable. Yeah. But like I'm looking forward to them hopefully shunning this and maybe having their own social media. Whether it's going to be just as bad, I don't know. But I don't know. I hope that it's not. And the other part of me is like, just really glad I don't have kids. Because I don't want anyone to go, I wouldn't want to bring someone through a world that's just turning into like war and misery and hate and anger.
Yeah.
So there you go. That was a very depressing start to the podcast.
Well, anyway, before we continue as 2 white boys trying to solve racism.
Well, I'm not. I've just been like, the world's shit. Let's just pull the plug.
The world is shit.
Just pull the plug. We'll move on. We'll find another planet.
But Romeo and Juliet was really good.
Oh, yeah. That's where we were.
That's where we were. So... yeah, it's a really, really modern production. So as I said, I knew nothing about it going in.
Same.
And the staging was essentially just empty. Like
we were trying to work
no staging, out, weren't we? Apart from a load of lights, some microphones, and a sort of screen that would move back and forth and up and down.
Which we were looking at it being like, what is that? We were like, is it just
I
like
thought
lights?
it was just lights, but it was like a full screen thing.
But you could see behind it. It was like it's like a mesh light.
Yeah. And I guess the point of the production was that it's all done through lighting and cinematography. So they have 2 guys with cameras who literally bowed at the end as if they were in the cast because they were on stage just as much as anyone else.
Yeah.
And they were following the actors around, filming them on stage and off stage. And then that was on the screen. So it was a real mix of like theatre acting and sort of film acting. So the first time you see, spoiler, first time you see Tom Holland, you see him backstage from behind.
With like stage door written. It wasn't even like the backstage hasn't been disguised as anything else.
No,
It literally says like stage door or stage this way.
And the camera then follows him, like walking around the back of the theatre to then come onto the stage. And then you see him on stage and you're like, oh my God, it's Tom Holland. I mean, it's obvious anyway, but.
In a hoodie.
Yeah, and then he takes his hoodie off and looks moody.
With the vest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that came later.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's this really, really cool mix of sort of cinematography and theatre. And because there's very little staging, a lot of it is just done sort of in the dark in a spotlight, and it's them just speaking the words. So like the balcony scene, for instance, which is the famous "Wherefore art thou, Romeo" bit.
Alas, poor Yorick.
Sure.
It's winding you up.
That was literally just them at the front of the stage.
Sat down on it.
And there was no staging, there was no balcony. But because of that, it just makes you really listen to the words, and it becomes all about Shakespeare's words and the wordplay and how descriptive it is, that you know what's going on purely by what they're saying. And it was almost like spoken word. I mean, obviously it's spoken word, but as in spoken word poetry kind of vibe, but on stage, which you're probably thinking, why would you pay so much to go and see that in a Western theatre? But like, it was so well done. Like the lighting around it was incredible, and the acting was just.
I feel like any moment
so
you could take a photo and it would be like a really cool image. Like that's the one word. I know it's not very descriptive and stuff, but like the word I would say to describe that play was just cool. It was really, really cool.
For me, it was cool. Yes, it was quite cold.
Cold and cool. It was definitely cold.
Well, cold because it was very modern and dark, but then there was this real chemistry and sort of love between the actors. I mean, and that's the other thing, is that I like that about it, because for me, Romeo and Juliet is not fluffy romance that everyone thinks it is. Like, people study it at school and think, oh, the kids are like that. It's about romance. Isn't it nice that they fall in love and then die? And actually, like, no, they just want to fuck each other. They see each other at a party and go, do you know what? I want to tap that. And so they get married in order to do it. But then shit hits the fan.
Is there a sex scene in the original?
Well, they wake up the morning after.
Because there wasn't any in that. Very disappointing.
I'm pretty sure Shakespeare didn't write a sex scene. Because I think that would have been frowned upon at the time. There's bawdy humour.
Fine.
I'm pretty sure there's no actual sex in Shakespeare.
Oh. What about
Please correct me if I'm wrong, because I would love to see it.
The beast with two backs? I remember that phrase.
Well, there you go. There's innuendo. There's bawdy humour. But I don't think there's ever, like, people literally banging on stage.
Especially if it was
I'm
two
pretty
men.
sure. Well, quite. That would have been frowned upon.
Not by me.
But I think what I loved about it most was that the acting was so, I think because it's done on camera as well, you don't have to be big for the theatre. So everything was so quiet and intimate and hushed all through microphones. It was so secretive. And that's the thing, is that it's this intimate love affair that is sort of illicit and secret because they're not allowed to be together. So the fact that they're literally in the dark, in a spotlight, hushed, like speaking the words to each other, it feels so like even more erotically charged because it's so secretive, and it's like, we shouldn't be here, but we're doing this anyway. And there was so much chemistry between them both. And I loved that about it.
And I also, I've got to say at the very beginning, because they were kind of whispering and it's all like microphone, like they're just talking. Yeah. I generally, for the first 10, 12 minutes, I had not a single word what they were saying. Like, I could not understand it. I was like, I mean, obviously they were speaking Shakespeare's words. So it was also a bit like that. You can't kind of just pick up what they're saying from like getting a few words and then putting them together in your brain, because you're not quite sure what they're actually saying. But yeah, no, I found it really difficult to understand what they were saying at first. And then there were quite a few moments where I did understand it. And yeah, even though I'd not studied Shakespeare since I was 11, so I didn't know any of the words or anything like that, or any of the phrases really. There are a couple obviously that I recognized, but
whereas I was sat there like, two houses, both alike in dignity.
Yeah, you were going rant stuff like that, and I'm like, I have no idea. I just know obviously the wherefore art thou, Romeo. So I just know those, and there was a couple of phrases where I'm like, where do I remember that from? Is that from when I was 11? Do I remember it? Or is it a phrase that other people have used since then?
I mean, it's so famous. Like, it's all over the place.
But I still, like, I didn't really understand what was going on for a lot of it, but or what was being said. But
there's not much to get.
You get the gist of it, yeah. They do wedding crashers, don't they? It's like they're wedding crashers.
What?
Don't they crash the ball at the beginning?
It's not a wedding.
It's
It's just a
a
ball.
party. They've crashed the ball,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's all I remember. And I don't remember that from when I studied it, but it was, it was really, really cool. And I've tried to explain to my colleagues like how it was, and I explained like the last scene, which is where Tom Holland. Spoiler alert! If you're not going to go and see it, enjoy this. But he's on the roof of the theater, literally on the roof outside in the open. You can see the London Eye behind him, and you can see a few landmarks. And he's there with Benvolio.
Yep.
Get me remembering it. I was remember it was like ravioli or something like that. But Benvolio, the guy who is in Heartstopper. What's his name again?
I don't know. He's the PE teacher in
Is he?
Heartstopper, right? Was it PE teacher?
I don't know.
Or it was one of the teachers with a beard.
Yeah.
And then spoiler for Heartstopper, he gets with the art teacher.
Yeah. He is Benvolio. Oh my god, what? Yeah, I don't know. Benvolio in Romeo Juliet. Oh god, no, this is like loads of old ones, obviously. But
yeah, of course.
Yeah, he's
I had the website up. You talk.
You do. Good. Well, yeah, he was obviously doing his little thing, because I think because Tom Holland had been Romeo had been exiled. He'd been exiled like out of the theater. He was on the roof, and that was like a different place. So then Benvolio goes there and has a little chat and says, "Oh, Juliet's buggered herself. Go down and see her." And then
there's no cast list on this website.
The camera follows Tom Holland, follows Romeo from like as he's kind of distraught, knowing that what he's going to expect when he goes to see Juliet. So he's walking down through the theater, past like the plants, past the windows and stuff, going down the fire escape, making his way through the theater, through like the backstage, and then onto the screen. And like the fact that it's almost it's not exactly continuous because it stops as he enters the theater. So it's just kind of him entering the stage.
Nima Talagani is his name.
He was very hot. And anyway, he went to the stage. And I thought that was really cool that it started literally outside. Now, I really do wonder what they're going to do if it's raining. Like, will that affect the camera? Will it affect like the microphone? So do they start somewhere different?
As well as Heartstopper, he was also in Casualty.
Oh.
There you go. Who hasn't been in Casualty?
Was his heart stopped?
Funny.
Was he called Ben? But no, that was like a really cool scene at the end, I thought. And then, him walking through there, that was kind of like the build up to the finale.
I really liked the cinematography as well, because it had a sort of like found footage kind of vibe to me.
Cloverfield.
Yeah. So the opening monologue from Prince is basically explaining this is what's going to happen in the play, and
which I didn't understand. That's the bit I didn't. Well, I didn't spoil it for me because I had no idea what he was saying.
What happened, but he basically explained this will be the 2-hour traffic of our stage, I think is the line. So he's explaining like what's going to happen.
The 2-hour traffic of our stage. I was like, what's going to be happening on the stage for the next 2 hours?
Yes.
Oh,
that's that.
Why didn't you just say that?
That's the line, because it's Shakespeare and it's poetic.
Why didn't they just say it clearly?
Fuck off. So he says that at the very beginning, and then it starts with the cinematography, and it's almost like that's at the end telling you this is what's going to happen, and now we're going to show you the found footage of this horror story in a way. It sort of gives that kind of vibe to it, which I really liked. Anyway, it was just a really fucking good production.
And I just love that they kind of mix...
The music was so good.
Yeah.
This like industrial beat at the start that was just filthy.
I love that they kind of mixed as well the camera screen as well as the actual acting. So at one point, like the screen is at the front of the stage, but you can see through it, and at the back of it, I think it's Juliet's just lying down. Because I think she's tired or whatever, she's been asleep, and they've
been shagging.
Oh, was that it?
Yeah.
Well, why are they clothed?
That's the morning after.
Oh, makes sense. So, but she's like looking at the ceiling, and the camera from above is like looking down, so you can't see her because you're sat in the audience. You can see her lying down and stuff, but like then there's a light above her you can see, but then the screen is like in front of her, so you can only actually see her through the mesh screen. And it's like hardly anything, but then on the screen is literally the camera kind of zoomed in on her face as she's talking to it, and it's I just thought that was like really, really cool because you can look at the screen,
and then
but also you can see it in the background.
He's then behind the screen as well, so it's like he's tiny, she's big on the screen. Who's in power?
Oh God, no, Ed.
Sorry.
You're not doing. You're turning this into
metaphorical.
You're turning this into an essay, a year 7 essay that I would have hated to write,
and I would have loved to write.
I know. Yeah, I bet you were like. Okay, Ed, let's do an essay on this one scene. Oh, can I do 15 pages, miss, please? I think that's the kind of thing you'd write a whole
One of my
essay.
presiding memories of AS level English literature was when we did Richard III, and I got an eighth star at English at GCSE.
Dickie the Third. I think I got an A star.
And then AS level, I was like, right, I know what I'm doing. I can do literature. This is great. And I wrote an essay, and my teacher gave me a D, and I was like, what the fuck? How very dare you?
Like you,
and
the
basically,
biggest load of bollocks I've ever read in my life.
No, it's because I basically wrote everything I knew about it in one go, and she was like, "You haven't actually answered the question. So you've written good analysis, but you haven't answered the question."
Oh, I
and
hate
from then
people
on, I was
like you.
right, now I know I need to angle it and answer the proper question, which is very useful in writing in life.
When I was teaching English for 10 years,
Then I got an A.
When I was teaching English for 10 years, they were the worst. They were the things that used to wind me up the most. There'd be a question, and there'd be somebody that's like obviously knows English very well, but they would not answer the question. It would be like comparing. It'd be quite high level English. It'd be like compare the benefits of living in the countryside to living in the city, and they would just talk about their experience and where they live. And you're like, great, brilliant English, but that didn't fucking answer the question. So I used to love giving you have to give content scores and language scores and spelling and all that. So that would get high, but then the actual content, I'd be like, nope, 1.
See, I remember doing speaking tests in when I was doing French at school.
Is it
GCSE.
elocution lessons, was it, in your school?
No. I've never once studied elocution. You can clearly tell.
Really? I'm the one from Yorkshire.
It's natural.
Oh.
No, studying French, and you have your writing test, your reading test, etc., listening, and then speaking. And speaking, the teacher would always say, "I want to ask you as few questions as possible, and I just want to hear you talk." So they'd literally be like, "So, tell me about where you live," and I'd be like, "Well," and I'd just chat for 20 minutes.
You twat.
I'd twat for 20 minutes in French.
If you want to twat in French, yeah. I will.
And then they'd be like, "Great, I'll ask you one question. Well done." So it was like, you just need to talk as much as possible, even if you're not actually asking.
See, my speaking one, I remember I had to learn a whole page in French, and I remember just memorizing this one page, and they asked the question, and I just went blah, 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 this entire page, and then
you just rehearse it.
Yeah, and then it was
you're not actually having a conversation.
Exactly, and then 2 or 3 little things. It was really bad.
Yeah.
UK. Anyway,
that was school.
Yeah. Romeo and Juliet was in English, apparently.
Fucking love Shakespeare.
Apparently that was in English. And it was really cool. And there were one thing I was surprised.
Oh.
The audience were very well behaved.
They were.
Every single person was well behaved. Not a single person dropped anything. Nobody got their phone out during the play. Oh, not during the play.
At the start they did.
But I don't know, just very well behaved, which is quite a new thing, especially when it's something like this that's kind of going to bring in everybody rather than just
I mean, I think a lot of the audience were fairly young girls who wanted to see Tom Holland.
I mean, we are
we're in that demographic. So I think there were a lot of people who were there to see him, and so were just kind of fairly respectful in that sense.
And they got his vest out, and we were like, oh.
I mean, there was that. I mean, at the very end, there were people literally waving at him, and I'm like, babe, he can't see you.
Yeah. I will. Yeah, he was. Look, he was very. He seemed to be very appreciative because we saw it the first night though, didn't we? It wasn't the press night. It was the first kind of public night, I think.
Yeah.
Is the press night only press, or do they have public there as well?
It's usually press / industry / friends and family.
Okay. Because I wonder if they will. I feel like they might change the sound level slightly. Because the beginning,
make it louder.
Yeah, well, actually, I mean, I think they changed it slightly because I told you the first 10, 15 minutes, I had no idea what was being said, and then it got a lot clearer later on. And I don't know if that was me getting used to it or if they did change the sound level slightly.
Maybe both. I think that's another reason though why everyone was so quiet, because it was so hushed and whispered and intimate that everyone's just like, I don't want to miss anything. So that just brought everyone into it to sit and watch it quietly and not rustle or drop their wine glass or whatever.
Somebody was asking me about was it graphic because they're taking their 12-year-old son, and I was like, definitely not graphic, but I think your son might be a bit bored and find it a bit weird. I don't know if a 12-year-old would enjoy that production.
No, because there's not big
Prop.
sets and stuff. It's much more modern and
Although I normally like a
symbolic.
good set, but
I
I
know
was
you
I was
do.
fine with it, and I just love. It reminded me a bit of at the end of the the interval and stuff. It reminded me of Observation, the game. Going back to video
Sure.
games, you know when it just comes up with like brr, brr, like the letters because when the intermission happened, it happens after they get shot or interval, I think it's called, isn't it?
Interval,
And
yes.
like they all get shot and they all die and stuff, and then all of a sudden it goes black, and then it's just like in massive red letters, big chunky thick like real red, kind of. The font is very futuristic or very kind of dread style font. Just goes interval off black, and then you're like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
It's like some kind of glitch, which I liked. I thought it was really cool.
I just
I
love
wanna
the
see the-
production like that.
I want to see I wonder if they're gonna film it because obviously Tom Holland's not gonna go there for 3 years and like do a run. Like
It's
only
12 weeks.
so 12 weeks. I wonder if. Yeah, do you think they would go somewhere else, or they'd maybe they'd probably just cast a new person, wouldn't they, and then move to a different.
Well, that's the thing. Like you get the star to come in and make some money for you, and then
Yeah.
you continue with a non-starry cast.
Or just have a
who
different
is
person.
sometimes just as good.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's it called? Cabaret. Started off with Eddie Redmayne, was it?
Yeah.
And
Well,
the-
they've gone on and off with stars
Yeah.
and non-stars, but yeah, I don't know. Like I think Tom Holland is all over it so much that I almost feel like it totally would work without him.
Andrew
but
Garfield. Bring him in.
Sure.
Andrew Garfield. Tobey Maguire.
I think he's a bit too old to play Romeo.
Andrew Garfield.
Yes.
I used to find him very attractive.
Used to.
I haven't seen him recently.
Oh, okay.
Is he still attractive?
I mean, yeah, of course he's an attractive man.
Yeah.
He's a bit too old for Romeo. And that's the thing is that Tom Holland like has not aged because he still looks about 12.
Yeah.
So, and Romeo and Juliet are basically like 14 and 17.
He definitely
or something,
looks
so
older than 17.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, go and see it if you. Well, you can't.
I mean,
actually,
you
because
can't.
it's sold out. So sorry, we've kind of. Yeah, I put on Twitter. I was like, "Oh, go and see it now." And then I think Marignetic replied with like, "I can't, Ben. I can't.
Yeah.
You just said to go see it."
There's
and
no tickets left.
But
yeah,
if-
my sister messaged me because she lives in America, and
Ooh,
she's
fancy.
she's coming back for a couple of weeks, and she was like, "Oh, I'd love to go and see this. Are there tickets?" And I just replied, "Lol."
Yeah.
She was like, "Oh, I'll take that as a no." I was like, "Yeah."
unfortunately not.
But we were very lucky to get in early, so thank
were.
you, Ben, for waking up early and getting
Very,
the
very
tickets for the two of
welcome,
us.
and I'm glad. And we're going to go and see Spirited Away in a couple of weeks as well.
We
so
are.
That's
So
going to be
more theatres to
which is
come.
literally opposite. It's literally the theatre
Yeah, yeah.
opposite this one. But if they do then do like a further production, they extend it like with a different cast or something, or in the future they bring it back with a different cast because it looks like quite an easy thing to just move around. I feel.
Wow.
Um,
Don't underestimate.
oh, I'm not going to underestimate, but it doesn't require anything kind of from the floor. They're not like
But
there's no
also-
new technological bits in the floor that they're like bringing up and.
But
It's
also with all the
screens and lights.
cinematography stuff and all the filming, how would that work in a different theatre? Because
Exactly.
it would be a different theatre, and I'm sure it would still work, but
Yeah.
it would be a different vibe because of the backstage of the theatre, which
And
is
that would-
interesting.
Like we're talking about backstage as well. Like when we went in there as well, we were told we couldn't go out, you couldn't leave,
Mm.
and then we found out like quite near the beginning, like they film the opening bit in the foyer.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like it's not even backstage where it's hidden. It's like you can see people walking past outside.
Mm.
What if we're ever there at the time? We should like just hang around outside and be like,
Hi, love.
oh yeah. Yeah. So go and see it if it does come back because it was really, really, really cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was.
That was
Our
the theatre
theatre-
section.
Yeah, we don't do it often, but we are a multimedia. Also, we a little bit of breaking news for the podcast. We're probably going to be doing a little bit of a rebrand soon.
Oh.
Yeah, just so I'm going to be doing a little bit more stuff for like the YouTubes. We're going to do some videos on there, and the person who's helping me get the kind of the bits and graphics and everything sorted for YouTube, I'm going to ask them to do like a bit of a rebrand with the logo and stuff. So there we go. And if you did like the current logo, which is awesome, we must give a massive, massive thanks to Moni,
Yes.
who I haven't even
Huge.
told about the rebrand stuff yet. So sorry, but thank you for what you've liked for it. It's brilliant, and it will still have it for a few more weeks. But yeah, watch this space. Hopefully, it will look even better
Nice.
or different, not better, because Moni's perfect.
Of course, Moni's perfect.
Moni is perfect, and she's rolling her eyes
Moni
right now.
does everything perfectly.
Moni does everything perfectly. That was actually her username, but she had to make it shorter.
Yeah, and just
There we go.
Anyway, go on.
Oh, I was going to say, I just noticed as well, my Twitter unfortunately has a blue tick on it, and I'd like to make this clear that I had it hidden for quite a while, since October or before then, because I need to use Twitter because I need to go and message people for my job. My job, if anybody doesn't know, I work for Great Ormond Street Hospital, children's charity, and I'm in charge of like their streaming events. So when I go and recruit streamers for our campaigns, or I'm contacting them being like, hey, would you like to take part? I often slide into their DMs, and unfortunately the twat that is Musk, who I've just been ranting about, even though I'm like now paying money, which is, I know, a bit hypocritical, but I have to get that to be able to message people. And yeah. And what I've been doing recently has been changing my display name every single time it pops up, because it takes about 4 or 5 days for them to verify your tick. So I've been changing that, but recently I've not been able to. They've banned me from changing it.
Oh.
So I'm not able to and get rid of it. But I just feel like I want to tell everybody about it, because to be clear that, and if I didn't have to do that with work, there is no way on earth I would pay for it. But there are people who've raised, since I've done it, we've raised well over £50,000 for Gosh. So I don't know. I feel like paying a little bit so I can use that feature to raise all that money for a children's cancer center. I feel like that's worth it. But I would like to say that Elon Musk is a twat, and I hope that he sells Twitter very soon.
There we go.
Right, we're going to play a game.
We are going to play a game. It's a little game that we have that we call the Edge game.
It's really, oh my God, Chronos Trigger. Oh, it's a Hades 2 thing. Yeah, we play the Edge game where, so if anybody doesn't know, well, do you want to explain what Edge is? It's
so
kind of a
Edge
stuck up.
It's not stuck up. Edge is one of the longest running games magazines, maybe in the world, but in the UK for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still going strong.
I used to buy it when I was a kid.
Yeah. And yeah, I have a subscription to it, so it arrives every month in the post, which is nice to have a little magazine to read.
And how often do you read it?
All the time.
Okay.
And we have a little game. Don't you shake your head.
I would not shake my head.
There are great articles in it and very good reviews.
What was the last one that you read, the last article?
Don't ask me that. It was a month ago. I can't remember.
Oh, God.
So we have a little game that we play when it arrives where Ben will read out the name of a game that's been reviewed and I will guess the score.
And he always gets it pretty much right because he knows how like artsy-fartsy Edge scores can be.
Edge have taste, and they're
not afraid to give a bad score to a good game if it's not very
they're very
inventive.
critical.
Yeah.
Very critical. And I relate to that.
So, should we play this game?
Let's do it.
The first game is Animal Well, which I don't know if we're going to be talking about that at some point, because I've played a little bit. You've played a bit more.
Talk a touch about it.
So,
should we do it now before the score?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's. What? No. Yes. Yeah. No. Let's not, because then I can. Because I'm going to do segments on the YouTubes.
Okay.
What do you think they gave Animal Well?
I think Animal Well got a 9 out of 10.
It did get a 9 out of 10. Well done. There you go. 1 for 1.
Genuinely, I've not even looked at this magazine. Just to be clear,
I literally opened it. I've opened it and
what's on the
held
cover?
onto it. On the cover is Hades 2.
Oh, nice.
That's not thingy on it, is there?
What do you mean thingy?
Apollo.
No,
I don't know.
That's Melinue.
Who?
The lead.
That one.
No, that's Hecate.
Oh, okay. Isn't Hecate the thing that they say in Shakespeare with Macbeth? Hecate
is like head witch.
Oh, okay. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. That's the one that you can't do, isn't it?
But that's got maths puzzles in it.
Literally, he was like,
struggled.
Ben, I've got a maths puzzle. And I came in and did it for him. He was like, thanks, bye. And then 5 minutes later, Ben, another maths puzzle. Came in, solved it. And he's like, how do you know that?
Look, I don't like maths puzzles. Do you know what
else? It
else?
made me feel so intelligent because
Good.
she was like, I actually helped you for once. I don't think I've ever helped you.
Do you know what else has maths puzzles in it? Stellar Blade. There's a couple of side quests where you have to solve maths puzzles. But luckily, I knew that the Eurogamer guide team, shout out, I
Anybody
knew that they had
particular?
already done. Jessica did them. Had already written guides on the maths puzzles, so I didn't even try and work it out. I just immediately googled it, got the number, was like, "Thanks, carry on." I've got no interest in a maths puzzle.
See, I love a maths puzzle.
I
You just
can't
wait
do
till you get
them.
to the Chance of Senna maths puzzle that's also like language and maths in one.
Oh God,
You'll hate it. So what do you
Okay.
think, Lorelei and
Right,
the Laser Eye?
Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. So I wrote a little preview of this, and I believe reviews have been very high.
Well, what do you think
And
this got?
I'm on the edge of saying a 10, but I think that might be too far, so I'm going to say 9.
It's a 9. It is a 9. I feel like they'd put 10 first, wouldn't they?
Not necessarily.
I don't know necessarily, but they would probably do that.
I think they would have shouted about it a bit more, I think.
Speaking of which, though, Stellar Blade. What do you think they gave Stellar Blade?
Ooh. I'm torn between a 6 and a 7. I'm going to go 6.
They gave Stellar Blade a 6. Generally, yeah. Wow. Okay, so you know this game. You know this magazine well. Okay, Euden Chronicle 100 Heroes.
So
That's a JRPG one.
that is a JRPG. It's the spiritual successor to Suikoden.
505 games.
Yep. I am going to say 7 out of 10.
A 7 out of 10. Ah,
I
he
love
doesn't
this game.
always get this right, by the way.
Genuinely, I don't.
Right then. Ooh, Tales of Kanzera, Zao.
Ooh.
This is not what you think. This is what you think the game got.
Yeah. I think they might have been a bit harsh. So again, I'm on like 6 or 7. Let's go 7 again.
It got a 7.
Hey!
You sure you've not been cheating?
No, genuinely, I haven't even
Wow,
touched
you've
that.
got every single one right
You
so
will not
far.
find my fingerprints on that.
Crow Country.
Oh,
The
as the
Final Fantasy 7-esque ugly game.
survival horror game.
Yeah. By SFB Games, which stands for So Fucking Bad. No, it doesn't.
Ben,
What? It's just not my style.
I really want to play this game. I have it and I'm ready to play it.
Oh.
I'm also trying to think like who's still freelances for Edge. And
Wow,
Master
you're
Reviews.
really...
I'm gonna go 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 is correct. Right, here we go to some that you probably won't know. Sandland, which is Bandai Namco and looks like a...
So that's based on
seen
an
that.
anime by
and there are topless men in it.
Toriyama, I think is the name, who is
Yeah.
the Dragon Ball creator who
Akira
passed away
Toriyama.
recently. Who passed away recently.
Yes.
I am gonna go with a 7 out of 10.
Finally got one wrong.
Oh.
It was a 5.
Ooh. Wow, they really didn't like that.
No, they didn't. Okay, the next one. Endless Ocean Luminous.
Lol. This is the scuba diving game from Nintendo on
Yeah.
Switch that I think everyone hated. I'm gonna go with 4 out of 10.
Another wrong one.
Oh.
6.
Oh.
I liked it more
I liked
than...
it more than I thought. Okay.
Yeah, than Akira. Okay, we've got, I think it's one more. Is it one more? Yeah, just one more. And it's Indica.
Ooh.
11-bit studios.
This I think is
Interesting.
yeah, this is reviewed quite well.
It's
I think
surreal.
is it based on either Ukraine or Russia or something like that?
It is based on...
Like folklore.
Yeah, definitely some kind of folklore. I don't think... doesn't say any... Well, it probably does. I'm just kind of scanning it. Definitely some kind of... Oh, it's like the co-writer is Dmitry Smetlov. So I'm like, is that Russia? Or it's definitely Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, weird indie game, but meant to be quite artsy and good,
Looks
which is the
artsy.
sort of thing Edge would like. I'm gonna go with an 8 out of 10.
Sorry, it's a 7.
Oh.
But yeah, it's not everyone's tempo, they said. Which normally they don't give a shit about and mark down for that. It's like, it's not everyone's tempo, but it's mine. So yeah, there you go. That is Edge. Sorry for ruining it for anybody else that, is going to buy the magazine.
That's the Edge game. We play this every month.
Yes, but I think you did well. I think I'll let you pass. You get a pass.
Thanks. I'll take that.
Passing grade. So let's talk about the games that we've been playing. And I can't think of anything that I've been playing that I've spent more than, I mean, obviously Elden Ring I'm playing and really enjoying that, but there's nothing really new to talk about for that.
Well, so we've both played a touch of Animal Well.
I literally just got the map, so I'm about 10 minutes in. But
Great.
I've done a few.
I said a touch.
Yeah, very much.
I've played like 2 hours, I guess.
Okay.
Something like that. Maybe a bit under that. So we talked about this last week because it came out last week and I'd heard really good things. So I wanted to play it. It's on PS Plus, so it's easily accessible for people if you've got PS Plus. It is a puzzle-based Metroidvania, I guess I'd say. You play as a little blob. It's side scroll. It's very relatable. It's sorry,
got a bit of blob in your throat.
A little blob in my throat. It's a side scroller. It's all done through pixel art, but with really beautiful lighting. It's sort of very sort of blue luminescent kind of vibes.
Yeah.
And it's all very surreal and strange.
I get like Ori meets Celeste.
Meets Tunic a bit.
No, don't put me off it.
Sorry.
No, I mean like the color scheme, like it's obviously like 8-bit, 16-bit, whatever from Celeste, but with like the glow and the color of parts of Ori.
Yep, I see that. So you play this little blob, and you basically have to explore this world that opens up as you get different abilities, which is very Metroidvania. But there isn't really any combat in it.
Not really.
Not really. There are enemies that can attack you, but you don't necessarily have a way of...
There's no boss fight. It's not like Hollow Knight or anything.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not running around shooting like you would in Metroid. So it's very much puzzle based. And yeah, you have to solve puzzles to, like, whether that's a platforming puzzle or switches or whatever else that's in the world. I think it gets quite creative with its puzzles, which I like the idea of. I think ultimately I really like the idea of this game on paper, and it just didn't quite click for me. But I also haven't played enough of it. I've only, like I say, only played like an hour, maybe two. And the more I played, the more absorbed into it I got. I say Tunic because the way Tunic works is that it doesn't explain anything. And the more you play, it kind of unfolds and you start to learn more and more about it, and its puzzle solving starts to make more sense in your head. And this feels quite similar. It doesn't explain anything. It just, like, you start the game and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'm going now. And you just got to work out, well, what direction do I go, and what are the controls, and what do I have to do? What can I interact with? What can I not interact with? And as the title suggests, there are various animals in this world, which I guess is a well. Maybe there's a surreal explanation later in the game. So there are various animals, and some of them are friendly and some of them aren't, and it's quite hard to tell which is which. So there's like a squirrel that you follow that seems friendly, but then there are hedgehogs that are spiky and they hurt you, and there was a very evil cat at one point. And then there was a peacock that just sort of looks there and stands there looking pretty. So sometimes it's quite hard to know what you can and can't interact with, what's going to hurt you, what isn't. So it's very trial and error. Now, I'm all for that in terms of discovery and sort of learning the game as you go. The only problem is that checkpoints are really quite far apart. So you save at a telephone because, of course. And it does kind of save your progress if you die, but then you respawn back out the telephone. And sometimes that's quite a long way from where you got to.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And so I just found that a little bit annoying because it wants you to explore and sort of, trial and error, try things out. But then I just kept missing things and would go all the way back and be like, oh, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Which got a little bit annoying for me. But I think the more you play it, the more you start to learn what you can and can't do. And so there's a bit less of that trial and error and you can just continue onwards.
That's fine. Yeah, because I'm glad that happens, because I remember the very beginning bit, there's a bit of a trial and error bit where you're going somewhere and you have to escape from something before it jumps on you, right at the very begining. And I did it like 4 or 5 times because I was like, can I actually run from it? Do I need to run this way, or do I need to run that way? Do I need to pull this lever do I have to run somewhere else? And it took me about 5 or 6 goes, but luckily it was just like the previous room that had the well or whatever it is that transports you back. So I was okay with that. But if I had to do that constantly, going far and far, I might have just been like, nah, screw this, I'm gonna go play something else.
Yeah, I think what I like about it is that it really gets to the essence of what a Metroidvania is, which is for me anyway, is very much about exploration and discovery. It's like you start off in a world and you have to explore and sort of uncover the map as you go and make discoveries about this world that you're in. That's something that Hollow Knight does really, really well, is discovering all the different areas and the sort of bits of lore as you go, and you sort of uncover this entire world. And Animal Well absolutely has that sense of discovery and puzzle solving, and as you explore and you discover all these little secrets and stuff, like it has that kind of vibe, which, like I say, is similar to Tunic, which I also loved. So it definitely has that to it.
See, I didn't like Tunic and I didn't like Hollow Knight, so I'm like,
so this is boding really well for you.
Yeah, and I bought it as well. I was like, oh, what? I
Great.
want to play it on the Steam Deck because I felt like a good Steam Deck game. So I went and was like, oh, it's £11, whatever. So I bought it on there.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to get 10 minutes out of it. You should play it on there.
Fine. I really want to play more of it. I did like what I played. It hasn't. I think it's one of those things where I'd seen reviews and people talking about it saying this is going to be an incredible game of the year. And so I've gone into it with such high expectations that the very beginning of it just hasn't quite grabbed me as I thought it might. But the more I play it, the more I'm getting really absorbed in it. And I think by the end of it, I might be like, holy fuck, that was really clever. So I really, really want to keep playing that. But yeah, that's Animal Well. Aside from that, I've played a bit more Stellar Blade, which I still haven't finished. I'm determined to finish it. I've played some more 14, which I'm really enjoying. I have an article about that on Eurogamer, so you can go read that to read more about my journey and where I'm at. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a good time with Endwalker. That's kind of been it for me.
Yeah, I've not really played anything. Like more Elden Ring. Like I said, I'm further than what all of it's new to me now where I'm going. So enjoying a bit of that. Like I started Cyberpunk, then immediately stopped because I'm like, no, I can't start a new game. I've got so many I need to finish first.
You went far enough as to choose a penis.
Of course, yeah, that's all I needed. That's all I wanted to see. While you were streaming, I was looking at penis.
Sure.
And I played a lot of City Skylines, but that's kind of my go-to chill game. And even tonight, I played some Animal Crossing. So I've not really got a game that I'm playing off stream right now. It's supposed to be Persona 5, and I think that will be what I do spend a bit of time playing.
Yes, you should stick with that.
I will, because I'm now further in that than I've ever got before. So a lot of this is brand new.
So I'm at a very similar point,
games-wise,
as that with Dark Souls, which I am currently streaming, which I've been streaming for a few weeks and just haven't talked about yet on the podcast. But I'm playing Dark Souls, and it is the only Souls game that I am yet to finish, apart from Sekiro, which is arguably a Souls game. But
it definitely
not
is. You must finish it if you want to get all the Souls games.
I know.
Complete.
I want to do all of them. I do want to do it. And I do appreciate what Sekiro brings, but Dark Souls 1 is the definitive, for a lot of people, the definitive like Souls experience. So I've been wanting to go back to it for a long time. I got it a few years ago on Switch. My old housemate Tim bought it for me. Shout out Tim. I'm playing it on Switch. It's the remastered version. It does not look great. It kind of still looks like a PS3 game.
You had a few people coming in going like, why are you playing it on the Switch?
Yeah, I'm like, well, because it was bought for me on the Switch. And I've never played it handheld. Maybe that would be interesting.
Yeah, it works. Like I played Celeste handheld, and that requires like really instant kind of reactions and stuff. And
but that's like a side-scrolling pixel game, not a muddy 3D thing.
That's true.
So it doesn't look great. But it's really interesting to go back and play what is kind of the essence and the original Souls game. Now, Demon Souls came first, and I played that when that first came out. Well, the big difference between the big jump from Demon Souls to Dark Souls is that Demon Souls has portals to each of its worlds. So there are five different worlds that you go to. And each of those that you explore very linearly through them. So there's, I think, 3 different sections to each of those worlds, and you just teleport to it. Dark Souls becomes this big interconnected world, which you could kind of argue is open world, but it's not open. It's a series of labyrinths, but they all weave back on themselves and interconnect.
Like a Metroidvania.
Almost, yeah. So you've got Firelink Shrine, which is the sort of central hub. And then you go off in one direction, and then it sort of loops back on itself. And suddenly you go to a lift and then you go down the lift and realize, oh, I'm back in the shrine. And so you start to realize how the world links with itself. And that was one of the big things with Dark Souls, is the world design. And that's something that people were worried about with Elden Ring, because Elden Ring then went fully open world. And people were worried about, well, are you going to miss that interlinking stuff? But if you think about, say, the legacy dungeons in Elden Ring, so Stormvale Castle.
Yes, I was thinking when you were saying that, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of, you go and unlock certain...
Yeah.
Well, you're not really unlocking places, you're unlocking the shrines or the bonfires.
The Graces.
The Graces.
Yeah.
So those, you can kind of quickly travel.
But as you explore Stormvale, it's like this weird labyrinth and it folds back on itself and it all interlocks and stuff. Imagine the entire world being that. That's what Dark Souls is like.
Oh, yeah, no, I played a bit.
Yeah.
I played a bit of 3.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I beat the tutorial boss.
Okay, nice.
And another little thing that came up, and that was about it.
Nice. So, yeah, I played Dark Souls 1 a few years ago. I got as far as Blighttown.
Yeah, I've heard things about that.
Now, Blighttown is the poison swamp of Dark Souls 1. And every Dark Souls game, every Souls game has a poison swamp because Miyazaki loves them. And everybody hates them because they're just evil. And Blighttown is especially bad, not just because it's a poison swamp with lots of tiny platforms and enemies that poison you and hit you off them and you fall to your doom, but also because the frame rate is fucking awful. So, because there's so much going on in this level, like it's never run well. And that's as far as I got. I gave up at that point in my first run through. Now I played it again. I started from the beginning. And the nice thing about playing a Souls game on stream is that lots of lovely people, shout out to 7-Dash especially, but lots of lovely people come in and go, oh, I can direct you. This is how you should do this. This is how to do this.
And you don't mind that?
I don't mind that. If it's like, because I think people have been really nice to me in that when I've asked for help, they've given it or given me a subtle clue. But also I think people, when they watch people stream Souls games, they want to see people fail a bit because it's funny. And when you know a Souls game and you know, oh, there's an enemy hiding around that corner, you want to see the streamer also get struck and make the same mistake. So people are quite happy to sit back and be quiet until I'm like, I need help with this. Where am I going? And then they're like, okay, go here, do this, do that. So that's actually made the experience of playing it really nice. And I'm really grateful for that. And it turns out Blighttown, you can actually skip half of it. So you don't have to do it.
I did that with Stormvale. I skipped all of Stormvale by going over on the roof and just wandering around and then dropping where I needed to. I literally dropped down at the boss.
So Blighttown, you only have to do the second half. And there's like a skip where you go to a different level and you just run through it, which I've now done. I'm like, oh, that was easier. So I'm basically at a similar thing with you where I've got past where as furthest that I've ever got before. I don't know how I can't speak. I've got the furthest that I've ever got before.
Yeah.
I am now in Anor Londo, which for a lot of people is their favorite part. And it's this kind of big castle area in like sunlight or sunset.
Which is a bit brighter.
It is quite bright.
It doesn't, like, the game didn't seem that dark, to be honest, compared to other Souls games that I've seen. Or like in my impression, like Dark Souls is always very dark, obviously. And
well, when you're in the depths, it's pretty dark, and some of the early areas are pretty dark.
I remember you find 2 dragons on top of a building and
gargoyles,
yeah, and that was all bright and stuff.
Well, yeah. So that beginning bit of the game is you working upwards, so you're in the daylight. And then after that, you go down into the depths, and it gets really dark for a really long time until you then come back up at Anor Londo, where it's suddenly in the sunset. So it's giving you that, light and dark. There was a really cool bit that comes off of Anor Londo, which is a secret level inside a painting. And
like Mario.
Sort of, yeah. You look at the painting and you get transported into it. And what someone in the chat told me is that was a tech demo, basically, that they decided to keep in the game. And I didn't realize that because there's no boss at the end. And I was like, oh, what was the point of this level? But it was basically a tech demo. And it's a really cool level. It's this like old... It's one of the things I love in any kind of fantasy game is give me like an old stone castle that's all decaying and falling apart.
Demon Souls.
Yeah. I mean, Demon Souls. But it's giving you that vibe, but it's all in the snow, and there are like sort of lots of evil things around, evil skeletons. But I love that kind of medieval castle all crumbling, and I just love that aesthetic. So I really enjoyed that bit. But I've
We
now
should go and visit a castle.
I fucking love a castle.
So British.
It's one of my favorite things to do in Britain. What also I blame my mum for this because my mum used to love history and she also loved education. So she would always take us to like educational trips and stuff at the weekends and in the summer holidays and things. But we went to loads of like battle reenactments. So
Do you have to dress up?
No, we didn't dress up, but as the public, you just go and watch it, and it will be in like in some stately home in the grounds or in a castle somewhere, and they then like reenact like a Viking battle, or we went to see the Battle of Bosworth, which is Richard III, we talked about earlier, and we used to go to all of those, and I used to collect the little metal soldiers because they had like a series of them that were always at these events, and I used to sit and collect them all.
Oh.
Anyway, I think because of that, I love a castle, and so therefore, with fantasy, I love that like a medieval, crumbling, decaying castle full of ghosts and skeletons and shit. I just love that. Anyway, I've now got to the big boss of Dark Souls 1,
Right.
which is bosses, which is Ornstein and Smaug, or Smaug, or Smough, or however you want to pronounce it. It's spelled Smough.
Smo.
Smough. Ornstein and Smough. Ornstein's a big guy and Smough is a little lightning guy, I think, or maybe it's the other way around. And you have to fight them both. And it is the most notoriously tricky boss in Dark Souls. Dark Souls 1. So it's kind of, this is like the Millennia of Dark Souls, basically.
So you're expecting
but it's a boss you have to do. Like,
oh, wow.
Millennia is optional. This, you have to do it.
Yeah.
And since, like, I've heard so much about Dark Souls, and since starting it, I'm like, this is the boss I want to get to. And now I finally got there. I'm like, right, this is the point I've been waiting for.
I feel like once you've beaten it, it's then just like plain sailing to the end.
I don't know if it's plain sailing necessarily, but yeah, I'm excited to finally do this boss. Because that's the thing, Dark Souls 1 has a lot of iconic bosses in it. The other one is Sif, who is the big wolf with the sword, who no one likes to kill because it's sad because you have to kill the dog. And as you get closer to killing him, he starts limping and whimpering.
Oh, okay. Yes, I remember you talking about that.
But I killed him so quickly, I didn't even see that.
But I do like the dog guy with the sword. Has he got a sword in Elden Ring?
Blythe.
Yeah, he's great.
Oh, yes. He's one for the furries.
For the fairies.
Furries.
Oh, for the furries. I think for the fairies.
For the fairies.
I was like, okay.
Maybe the fairies, but also the furries.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely can see that.
There was a BuzzFeed did a thirst tweets with the actor who played Blythe.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far.
Well,
I'm down the depths with him at the moment anyway. But he's got a
bet you are.
great voice act. He's
Yeah.
got a great voice actor as well.
Yeah, he's
very adds. It really adds to it. Is he
absolutely.
Welsh?
I think so.
Yes.
A lot of Elden Ring
Blythe is
was
Welsh.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got the pronunciation. Oh no, is it Blythe? Double D at the end actually, so it's Blythe.
Blythe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that is my Dark Souls journey so far. Come join me on Twitch and we'll be playing some more of it. The next stream is going to be me screaming at Ornstein and Smaug.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing. You'll probably like beat it first try and be like, oh.
No, I tried them once and died in 2 hits. So it's going to go really well.
Whereas I have been kicking out. I beat, what's that one that I beat? At the, because I went and...
Elden Ring?
Yeah, there's one I beat, like a dragon that breathed fire and there was a pillar in the middle. And I just kept dancing around the pillar and I killed it quite easily. And people were like,
the magma worm thing.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that was like a great enemy.
Yeah.
So is that like a
You've
big
done
one?
that earlier than I think a lot of people have.
I found it harder when I was fighting all those annoying bat things that sing.
Oh, yeah, they're really irritating.
On the way there, that killed me like 3 times, whereas that one I beat first time.
Yeah.
I just love my Bloodhound Fang, and like the follow-up attack on it is so good, especially when it's like a big enemy that doesn't move much. Also, one thing I didn't like was what was that dungeon that you use the stone something key?
The stone sword key.
The stone sword key, the opening area, like the very beginning of the game that you go to a bit and you can use a stone sword key if you want. But it's the thing where it's like there's a spiking roller and you have to get further and further down this labyrinth as you're about to get.
That's a bit of a troll.
Is it one of those that people, when they play the game, they get a stone sword key and then they go in there and think, oh, that's going to be really easy, and then they find out it isn't?
Yes.
Okay.
So stone sword keys you get, there are, as you know,
I've
you
got
get
loads.
plenty of them, and there are, well, not that many, but a fair few. And there are various things around the world that need to be unlocked with that.
Mm.
That is literally the very beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things you can choose from your
Stone-
items is a stone sword key.
Yeah.
So a lot of people go, oh, I'll just use that straight away. And then it's like, wow, here's an incredibly difficult dungeon.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a troll thing at the beginning of the game, in the same way that the guy on the horse at the very beginning is obviously tricky and you're meant to run away from him.
I liked that.
Yeah.
And I did beat it in the end. And it's interesting because you go to the end, but it doesn't transport you anywhere. And there's a really easy person to kill. And you're like, oh, there's more.
Yes.
So then I had to go down and find. Apparently there's someone else as well that I didn't see. But yeah, no, like I was doing a dungeon as well. And there were like 2 bosses. There was like so there were 2 main boss areas, and I thought it was 2, and they were very close to each other. So I thought that they were just both entrances to this boss fight, and you could go in the other side if you wanted, but no, it was 2 different bosses.
Yeah.
That game is incredible. I'm going
I am so happy that you're enjoying it.
If you want to see more of it, I will be posting it almost every week. It depends if I'm not able to stream. Like this weekend, I'm not able to stream, so I won't be doing one this week. But pretty much every week, go and check it out on either Twitch or on YouTube, which I locally record it. And then I upload it in 4K so that it actually has a really clear performance, because it uses a special codec on YouTube when you upload it like that. So if you want to see what it's like locally recorded, look in really good graphics and performance, then you can go and check it out on there.
I can't wait for you to beat Melania.
Will you be very proud of me?
Yes, I will. I'm proud that you're playing it, because I know that you don't really like Souls games, but this one has clicked for you, and I love very happy for that.
I love good combat in a game, and this does have good combat. I just don't like games that waste my time, and this one definitely doesn't.
Yeah.
Like if you die from a boss, you can get there very, very quickly. That's the one thing, I've mentioned it a million times, but that's one thing I didn't like about Demon Souls, is like running through the entire level to get back into a boss again that you might die in 3 hits, and you're like, oh well, fuck this.
So Dark Souls is a bit like that. The main thing I've noticed with Dark Souls is that it's so slow in comparison to Elden Ring, because there was a big jump between Dark Souls 2 and Bloodborne, and then Dark Souls 3 that came after Bloodborne took a lot of that on and became a lot quicker, and they've gradually got a lot quicker with combat. Dark Souls 1 feels very slow and clunky. It's like, even like sipping from your Estus flask for health is like, it takes ages, so you've got to time that between at the right point, and then every swing has to be calculated, and it's so sluggish. So you've got to be really careful.
Well, I'm enjoying Elden Ring. I'm gonna be playing it for a long, long time. If I ever in the future one day finish it,
you will.
And finish.
I'm gonna force you.
No, but if like I finish it and then beat everything I want, like beat all the bosses I want, and then get the and the DLC, then maybe the next one would be Bloodborne.
Yes.
But it was like years away. I think. It's literally a year or 2 away.
It's months away. You're gonna race through Elden Ring.
I feel like I'm doing quite well. I'm only 25 hours in. And I'm level 54 or something, or 55.
Yeah, very good.
Anyway, that's my whole Souls.
Let's see what a few people in Discord have been playing.
Yes.
Firstly, we have Jackie B, who says, I got Super Mario Brothers Wonder for my birthday, and I've been playing that. Happy birthday, by the way. And I've been playing that a bit the past few nights. I'm not very far yet, but it's incredibly fun. I'm also playing Pokemon Go every day. I recently made it to level 37, so I can nominate new Pokestops now. I live very rural, and we have very few Pokestops around here, so it's something that I've been looking forward to for a while now. I nominated a public recreation area near our house a few days ago, and it was accepted and is in game already. I didn't realise that you could actually do that.
What?
Nominate a Pokestop. I mean, living in a city, it's like...
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere anyway. I've not played Pokemon Go in a long time. Maybe I should. I need an excuse to get out.
I don't even know what to do in it.
You like just walk around and catch things.
No, but then I go to the gym and it's always like, this gym's full. This gym's full. Are they all meant to be full?
No, but you battle with people at the gym and things like that, and
I have no idea what I'm doing.
Special things. It's got a lot more complicated than that first summer when it came out was like the best.
And I've got
I played it so much.
And I've got like a full inventory. That's all I remember. I've got my inventory completely full.
Well, you better use some items then.
I don't know. I wish I could get into it.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Pancake says, I just bought Forager. It's a really fun resource management survival game. Basically, you start with trees and rocks, and as you collect stuff, you unlock different things to make and more to collect. You can craft gold coins that you use to expand the land, and the types of things on each new plot of land is random. Eventually, you start fighting monsters and your own hunger and see how long you can survive. I'm addicted. I'd say I'd play for a bit to check it out, and then suddenly it was 4 hours later.
Mm-hmm. I really want to play that game. Speaking of like Forager and like the F reminded me. Isn't there a game called like, what was it? It begins with an F. It's I put it on my wish list. It's just come out yesterday. Fabledom. Fabledom. It's definitely got Fable vibes. It's like very kind of you're building a base and Stardew-esque, that kind of thing, but I don't know, the characters are very kind of like fairy tale style, Fable. So yeah, go and try that out.
Nice.
Also, got to say, I did play a little bit of Ghost of Tsushima on the Steam Deck, and it runs very well.
Oh, nice.
You can't play multiplayer on there, but everything else you can. There's no co-op, but like the main story and the DLC you can do completely on there because it just got released on PC today. And thank you for the code PlayStation.
Nice. Madam Knees says Hades 2 early access is great. There is way more content in early access than I thought there would be, especially given the scale of the technical test. I've made decent progress and the new mechanics all feel like a natural progression whilst keeping things fresh. I've really enjoyed Hades 2. Actually, I haven't played any more since last week, but I want to play some more.
Don't love it that much then, do you?
I've got a lot to play, man. Clues, lastly, says Fallout 76, Lego Fortnite, and Diablo 4. I got greedy and got the season pass for all 3 games, which means I am now contractually obliged to get my money's worth.
I didn't realize... Oh, sorry, yeah, keep going.
Lego Fortnite is surprisingly a lot harder in survival mode than I expected, especially with the new Star Wars content. They introduce Imperial bunkers, which are dungeons filled with stormtroopers and elites, but have the resources you need. And here's good old me running into them armed with a stick.
I didn't realize that they had like Star Wars in Lego Fortnite because that was Lego Fortnite was really
added.
good fun. Maybe I should have done that tonight. Actually,
I was gonna say you enjoyed that, right?
Really enjoyed it. Yeah, and we had like a full server. Like people were, because it's a free game and it's free to play. People can just drop in and yeah, it's a really good. I felt it was a really good streaming game and people were just joining and goofing around and building things. I definitely need to launch that server again. I'll do a game at some point.
Breaking news I've just seen on Twitter.
Is it regarding
Grand Theft Auto 6? There's no release date, but it is coming autumn 2025 or fall if you're in America.
Autumn 2025. So Christmas. It'll get pushed back to Christmas then.
I would say October.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Um,
So 15 months away.
yes, which means expect every other game to come out spring next year.
That's great. There are going to be so many. Yeah, there are going to be so many people that are like, okay, shit, we need to get this game out earlier. So we're going to expect a lot of broken and half-finished games out in the first half of next year.
I mean, we're joking, but also not. Like, I think that game is going to be so disruptive next year that no one wants to commit to a release date next year until they know when that is coming out so that they can work their release around it. Because once that's out, everybody is going to be buying GTA 6. Everybody's going to be playing it. All the news is going to be GTA 6. It's going to be like
the biggest game of all
like
time
Elden
ever.
Ring was, last 2 years ago.
Oh, way bigger, I think, yeah.
Like nobody wants to release their game next month in the same weekend as Elden Ring DLC. It's that vibe. So yeah, there we go. At least we know.
I mean, I'm
going
to be really boring and it's definitely not going to be very creative, like very different compared to other streams, but I will be streaming that game and I will be playing it a lot.
What, GTA 6?
Yeah, I love GTA games.
I mean, I'll play it and I like them, but I'm not like obsessed.
I love just having a world to go around in. You know me, I love a world to get like. That's why one of the reasons I love Flight Sim, because it's just like you've got the whole world. You can go wherever you want, do what you want.
I think I don't know. GTA has a very specific sense of humor that sometimes appeals to me, and some of it doesn't. Like I just love the batter all over my face. Is one of my favorite things. But then I also just love the like 80s style of Vice City. Whereas a lot of GTA 5. I was like, I don't know if this is that funny anymore. Some of it is and some of it isn't.
I also want to see what a GTA being released in 2025 is like.
I mean, very true.
Because I think we might appreciate it more, maybe.
Well, I hope that there are certain things that are modernized. And I think, because I think if you play GTA 5 now, I played it when it first came out on PS3 and I haven't played it since. But I think there are maybe things in that feel a bit dated.
Yeah.
And I think it's very much probably a sort of anti-woke game in inverted commas, and I'm sure a lot of people will be like, we don't want wokeness in our GTA, and those people can shut the fuck up. I
wonder if they will.
I think there's still going to be an edge to it, but also I would like there to be like some well-written women in it, and maybe let's not take the piss out of gay people in it and stuff like that. So let's joke and laugh at current society and the state of the world, but let's also not like stoop too low.
Yeah, no, I think that they just need to make realistic characters.
Yes.
And yeah, like making fun of a minority for being a minority, like that was maybe funny 10 years ago, 15 years ago. That was the butt of the joke. Whereas now it's like, yeah, you can have an absolutely horrendous person in that game and gay is just part of their personality, maybe.
Yeah.
They're not being victimized because of that.
Yes.
Well, we'll see what it's like, but I've got a feeling that there will be definitely people that will be putting some reaction videos up there being like, GTA 6 is cancelled, it's woke, because it has a trans person in there that isn't being ridiculed or attacked.
Well, already it's got a woman in the lead character, as one of the lead characters.
Yeah, and isn't she Mexican or Latin American?
Hispanic, yeah.
Yeah, so there's like, yeah, it's going to be, I don't know, I'm not even going to guess.
Also, it's set in Florida. Like,
yeah.
What else do you expect from Florida?
So, I mean, it's going to be, I'm not going to entertain the thought of what people are going to be like, because they're going to be like that. And I think it's just a waste of time suggesting it now, because they're like, oh, they're going to say this, they're going to say that. No, just let them do that, because they will, and just let them whinge.
Yeah.
And when the game comes out, just go and play it and enjoy it. But I'm looking forward to playing it, and I do hope that it's well written and it's funny, and I imagine there will be a certain person that game will mock. The person with a red hat.
Yes, and an orange face.
I think that person will play a lot. And
yes.
But the thing is, then it immediately dates it, because if Cheeto Mussolini loses the election this year, fingers crossed, which I don't know if that will.
Sorry, what was the name you just gave there?
Cheeto Mussolini.
Okay.
So I think he
just clarifying.
If he loses, it's interesting to see what the world's going to be like then. Does he then wait another 4 years and campaign, and then, is he still going to be a prominent force 4 years later? Because this GTA 6 is going to be big for next 10 years at least.
I don't think I think he will be mocked, but I don't think he'll be the central story, because, like you say, that will date it. I'm sure there will be a side quest or part of the main quest that relates to that.
But I think it's more the culture that has led to him being elected that will be the. But
I don't think, sadly, that's going anywhere in the next few years. So,
oh no.
And judging by the trailer, all the like TikTok videos and stuff like that, I think there's a real. See, that I'm interested in. Like, let's take the piss out of social media culture.
Well, TikTok could get banned. That could be dated immediately.
And who knows what Elon Musk is doing. But I'm sure there will be a lot of that kind of vibe to it. And I'm interested in taking the piss out of.
Yes. I'm interested. I also wonder what's going to happen. And we're not turning this into a US politics thing, but I wonder what happens when Trump goes, like when he dies or when he just buggers off, whatever. I think he'll probably have to die before. I don't think he'll ever bugger off or retire. But like when he goes, what's that power vacuum going to be? Are they going to go back to being the Republicans with like right wing but kind of grounded ish? Are they just going to be kind of like good Christian God fearing right wingers, or are they going to be like, hey, who's our next kind of dictator? Well,
someone else will come up, unfortunately. But hopefully we'll swing back in the other direction a little bit at least.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyway. We will have a politics podcast very soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure.
No. Maybe we'll have an election one.
There you go. There's some breaking news, and which it won't be breaking
by the time
you will listen to this podcast.
Any more take twos? Oh, actually, yeah, because the podcast is going to go up at 9 a.m. tomorrow.
So,
any other breaking news?
Well, let's do this one. There's a few. I don't know about other breaking news on Take Two, but it is financials week, which we'll get to in a minute. But also, as we were just talking about a female protagonist, let's talk about the reveal this week of Assassin's Creed Shadows, which has been coming for quite a while.
I love that it got announced the day before Ghost of Tsushima came out on PC.
Yeah. So this was like codename Assassin's Creed Red, and it's because it's set in Japan. and they've now called it Assassin's Creed Shadows, which I personally think is a terrible name because assassins live in their shadows. Like, it's so obvious.
But also, the game has two protagonists, and one of them is very much a stealth character, and the other one...
It's called Assassin's Creed. Of course they're in the shadows.
No, one of them is not. The guy is not.
Well, I know.
Yosuke.
I know. I just mean the series as a whole is called Assassin's Creed.
They've
always been assassins. So why are we now suddenly talking about shadows?
It's
just a boring
they've
name.
always had stupid names. Origins was, it was about the origin of the Brotherhood or whatever.
Yes.
But then Odyssey came out and it sounded very much like Origins. And I used to always get confused. And I think people still get confused between Origins and Odyssey.
It's the Odyssey. That makes sense to me. That's a good title.
No, like it's too similar to Origins for me. It's like ACO, like literally two games that came out and they had the same initials now. I thought that was a terrible name.
Well, that's not my fault. You can't differentiate between Origins and Odyssey.
They should have brought it, they could have called it Assassin's Creed Greek.
Wow. And I thought Shadows was uninventive.
No, but I don't think. Odyssey, I understand how you like it. I just thought it was a bit of a bad idea putting two ACOs out. And then what was it? Valhalla. Yeah. Which was just, there were loads of games with Valhalla.
Yeah, I mean, look, none of them are very well.
So I think Shadows.
Anyway, this is coming out on the 15th of November.
This year as well.
This year on PC, Mac, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S.
A big AAA game out before Christmas. I'm looking forward to playing this over Christmas.
I think this is going to do really well at the end of the year because there is nothing else coming out.
Not that we know of.
Yeah. So it's been developed by Ubisoft Quebec.
It's in Canada.
It is. And they were the team that made Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which was the one set in London, which also had two protagonists, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
But apparently the map is the size of Origins.
Sure.
Which I'm really happy about.
There were also 15 other Ubisoft studios
working on it.
Yeah. Different support studios from around the world. So,
good.
Well, Ubisoft need this to do well. Well, they've got this, but before this, they've got Star Wars Outlaws. And that also
that needs to come out quickly
well.
so that the producer or the director can go over to the Division 3, which they cancelled.
No, they need to make Beyond Good and Evil 3.
They need to make the Division 3. What would you like to see from this Assassin's Creed game?
Well, so the sort of basic details of it, there's a trailer that's out now that sort of doesn't really show any gameplay, but it's a cinematic trailer.
But isn't there a trailer about the character? I know you're sighing because you're probably going to bring this up. Isn't the trailer...
No, I'm just trying to get on with the story.
Well, isn't there another trailer based on the characters? And I don't know if that has more gameplay in it. Okay.
But yes, there is another trailer. This has two protagonists. One of them is Yosuke, who is a samurai and is a black samurai, which all of the anti-woke people think is a terrible idea, and they can fuck off.
Do you know what I get annoyed about?
What now?
That they're complaining about that because they're like, oh my God, it's Assassin's Creed. We finally got Assassin's Creed in Japan, and we've got a woman and a black man, and they're like, why can't I play as a Japanese guy? And it's like, were you complaining about that when it came to like Neo, when you play as a white guy in that, or about Shogun, which is a Shogun? It's an amazing film set in Japan in many hundreds of years ago, and the main character is a white guy. Like, they don't seem to complain about that. They only seem to complain
because they're racist cunts.
Yeah, it's true.
So there's Yosuke, who is a black samurai, a historical figure, and then there is a female shinobi. I don't know how to pronounce this, I'm afraid. Naoe. Nao. Something like that. I'm sorry if I've butchered that. And she is a new original character.
Oh, so I just typed in Ubisoft Assassin's Creed Shadows, and the first thing is massive backlash over Black Samurai in Assassin's Creed Shadows, and woke Ubisoft gets destroyed after Black Samurai revealed for Assassin's Creed. And they've got over 100,000...
Get over it, you bunch of twats. So anyway,
block people on that?
So you play as both characters, and they obviously have slightly different gameplay between being a shinobi and being a samurai. I'm excited by this, and I'm also not. I'm excited by it because I think the setting looks really cool. It's a return to the open world style of Assassin's Creed games. So like Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. Whereas obviously last year we had Mirage that was back to this sort of original style of Assassin's Creed game. I think it's got an interesting setting, and I personally really like that they've got these two characters that are different and will give you a different story
and a different playstyle.
The only thing is that I think there have been a lot of games set in Japan, so maybe these characters will help to differentiate it a bit.
Yeah.
But we've had Ghost of Tsushima, and
It's like if you want to play a really good Assassin's Creed game with a Japanese main character, go play Ghost of Tsushima. This is something different. Go play that. It's like I cannot believe I just typed it into YouTube, like Assassin's Creed, and everything is either the 2 Ubisoft trailers, and all the rest are just complaining that it's woke.
because they're idiots.
It's like, why is gamer culture like this? Why isn't some of it trailers? Things like hate sells and hate people view for hate. Why isn't it somebody kind of analyzing it or talking about how great it's going to be? Why do they never appear on your front page? It's always people, right-wing neckbeards who've never touched a woman, just whining about it.
Welcome to YouTube. My one hope for this is that there is assassinating. And I think that was my biggest criticism with Valhalla, was that, apart from it being too big, for me, Valhalla was a great Viking simulator, but I'd never felt like I was an assassin.
Yeah, too big and bulky.
And you just run around and you just
swing your axe.
Swing your axe around, and it's just, I never felt like I was sneaking in the shadows and being stealthy.
You literally have a horn that you blow to bring all your men up, and then
exactly. So it was a great game as a Viking simulator, but not a great Assassin's game. And I hope that this is going to be a nice balance with you playing as a shinobi for part of it, and you're in the shadows, that there is some stealth and there is some assassinating in it. It's just that it's in an open world in Japan. So I'm hopeful that they'll strike a nice balance there.
Did you play the Assassin's Creed, the latest one?
Mirage?
Yeah.
No, I watched you play a bit of it.
Yeah, that was good. That was definitely more silent assassin.
Yeah.
That's it, man. But cool. Well, I'm looking forward to playing it. I love an Assassin's Creed game, and the fact, one thing that I really hope, and you didn't really answer and then moved on. So one thing I really hope that we get from this game that they've maybe strayed away from is, more assassinating would be good.
Yeah, so I did answer your question.
You did a little bit. But also I want a main story that's like 20, I'd take 30 hours, that's fine. A 30-hour story, but with lots, like if they want to do a 120-hour campaign, make that 30 and then just make lots of optional branched sides, a little bit like Ghost of Tsushima.
Zelda.
No, like Ghost of Tsushima. That's got the main story you can kind of whiz through, but there are also these like 6 chapters that as you play through the game, you can go and like continue people's chapters, and they have exclusive rewards for going and following that. So I really, really enjoyed that. And I hope that they do something similar, because sometimes you just want to finish it. And then, maybe you do go back and then play all the side missions and the side stories. That's fine. But I don't need 120 hours just to get to the end of a game, because I will lose interest.
Fair.
And also, what else do I want? The fact that the map is the size of Origins. Origins is the only Assassin's Creed game I've actually finished, and the map size was big, but it wasn't overwhelming, and I really liked that. So, whereas Odyssey was just way too big, and it was difficult getting from one place to another because you had to go by boat, and Valhalla is just ridiculously big and also quite sluggish.
Agreed. Anyway, so that's coming out later this year. Now, as I said earlier, it's financials week, which happens every quarter. And that's really boring, and they just release a lot of financial reports. But usually there's some good stuff in there that as journalists we will go and hunt for interesting bits of information. So that's why Take-Two have just announced that GTA 6 release window, because it's giving investors something to look forward to. So there have been some others this week which have been good and bad. The first of which was Square Enix. Now, Square Enix is not having a good time, sadly.
Yeah, no, they've laid a lot of people off.
They have. There have been some layoffs, and essentially their big AAA games have not really performed as well as they would like, i.e. Rebirth.
I thought Rebirth overperformed, I read.
No.
Okay.
They have not done as well as they would like. AAA games like that are not making enough money, and the problem with that is that they're so expensive to make, that you have to sell millions and millions and millions and millions of copies in order to actually make a profit back on them. So that's part of the reason why the industry as a whole is really struggling.
And also, it doesn't help if you release it on one console.
Well, Spoiler. So, as part of its financial report, Square Enix has released explained its new mid-term strategy, which is that it's going to aggressively pursue a multi-platform strategy, i.e., they're going to stop with console exclusives on PlayStation and start releasing stuff everywhere.
Good.
Now, in some ways, they're sort of already doing that, in that things like the Pixel remasters are out everywhere, and they already released their games on PC just after PlayStation. It's more a case of, does this mean they're going to start releasing stuff on Xbox or not?
What's the Xbox?
Xbox.
What is that?
What do you mean, what
I
is
thought that's ending.
Are you trying to be funny?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can have a bit of comedy on this podcast sometimes. We don't have to be serious.
Where is the joke?
The fact that they're going under.
No, they're not going.
Are they even going to
anywhere.
release an Xbox? Xbox?
Xbox is the brand as much as the hardware.
But if they don't have any hardware, where are they going to release it?
On Game Pass. Everywhere.
Yeah.
It'll survive. So yes, Square Enix are looking to go multi-platform, and that also means that their mobile games are going to come to PC. So basically, just expect more Square Enix stuff everywhere, which is probably a good thing. 15 was one of the best-selling Final Fantasy games, and that came out everywhere on every console at the same time. So that's Square Enix. The other big one was Sony, and consoles are tailing off basically, console sales, but they've now sold 59 million PS5s, which is about on par with the PS4.
Okay.
Which sold pretty well, so it's doing well.
When's the Pro coming out?
That's also 5 times. They've also sold 5 times as many PS5s as Microsoft have sold Xboxes in the last quarter. So it's doing pretty well. But the big news was how good Helldivers 2 has been. And that is the fastest selling PlayStation game ever.
Because it was on both.
Because it was on both. It was on PlayStation and on PC.
How are the reviews for
so
that?
That shows you that multi-platform is the way to go if you want to sell a lot of copies.
Yeah, I saw it pop up here. How was it doing? Because I know people got upset that you had to. Because now they've taken it off sale in places, haven't they?
Yeah, so there was a whole hoo-ha about needing a PlayStation Network account in order to access it even on Steam. And then they went back on that because there was such a backlash.
It's now mostly positive, but recent reviews are mixed.
Yeah, so it has gone back up and people are enjoying it.
I never got into it, but I don't have any friends to play it with. So,
oh, that's a shame. It's sold 12 million copies since it came out, which is about 1 million more than God of War Ragnarok, which was the previous fastest selling PlayStation game.
Well, hopefully they'll have a good game as their fastest selling soon.
Wow, rude. A couple of other little bits. One is Lego news. Now, you've just bought a load of Lego.
But a load of Animal Crossing Lego.
Which we need to build at some point.
Yeah. I think we're going to put we're going to put a table in here to then film and it'll make it easier.
Oh.
It'll be a bit
to do it on stream?
Yeah, I think so.
That would be nice.
And we can use these cameras here. We've got 2 cameras, so we can put them in different places and different angles. And we'll have the stream deck.
That sounds very professional. Change it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an idea.
I like it.
Good.
Let us know if you also like it and if you want to watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, Animal Crossing Lego. There is a ton of new Lego stuff coming out. KK Slider.
Slide on in.
Coming out
That's
soon.
the reason why I got this, because I saw that there was new Lego coming out for Animal Crossing, and I was like, I need to have all the originals before I get these.
Sure.
But yeah, we need to get rid of all these ugly books and then put on we can't see it on the Kallax. We need to replace that with Lego and things.
There's also a Lego Super Mario Kart set coming next year.
Ooh.
Which sounds very cool. However, before that, there have been leaks of a Zelda set. Now, this has been
a while ago. The Deku Tree.
This has been a long time coming, and there have been various different leaks. But this Lego set is going to be based on the Great Deku Tree, and the latest leak is that it's actually going to come with 2 different designs. So it's sort of 2 in 1. One based on Ocarina of Time, which has green leaves, and one based on Breath of the Wild that has pink leaves. And it will also come with 4 different figures. There's a classic Link, a classic young Link, both from Ocarina of Time, Breath of the Wild Link, and Breath of the Wild Zelda. It's 2,500 bricks.
How much?
And it's going to retail at 300 quid.
Well, if they want us to do it on stream, send us it.
Please. Would you rather have Breath of the Wild than Ocarina of Time?
Oh no, go for Ocarina. I know how much it means to you.
Well, no, because I was thinking Breath of the Wild with pink leaves is probably more interesting.
Yeah. Whatever looks the most Zelda.
There you go. And then one of the other big things from this week is Dead by Daylight. So it had its 8th anniversary stream, and they showcased what was coming next.
And people are getting Twitch shirts in it and being emotional on Twitter.
Are they?
I don't understand. I think that only the people who are like the affiliates of it, Fog Whisperers, I think they can gift a few of the shirts to some other people. And it's just like a Twitch logo shirt. And I've seen people like getting emotional about getting it because I'm not sure why.
Okay.
I don't play it, so I'm not.
This is the thing, like Dead by Daylight has such a core audience, but it's nowhere near as big as like Fortnite or something like that.
no.
But it still is ongoing and has new chapters every year, and they're constantly tweaking it.
And some straight people play it as well, I've seen.
Who?
I know there are toxic straight people that play Dead by Daylight, I've seen.
Straight people in DBD?
Yeah, I have. Not just drag queens.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I only watch drag queens play.
I do as well. They make it much better. And gays.
And the gays, of course. However, they have announced some new stuff coming this year. And the big thing is a chapter based on Dungeons and Dragons, which, to be fair, is actually quite a cool idea, I think. It's D&D, but through a very sort of dark fantasy kind of horror vibe. The new killer is Vecna, who is a lich, who I believe is in D&D lore a very evil, powerful person. So it makes sense. And there are a sort of 2-in-1 survivor, which are 2 bard characters, and you can choose if you want to be male or female. There are also various treasure chests around the map when you're playing against Vecna. And when you open them, you get a dice roll, which dictates what kind of item you get.
I like that.
And if you get a D20, then you get a super powerful item to counter Vecna's magic. And if you get a D1, it turns into a mimic. Which is a very horrible, evil thing that will kill
I know
you.
from Final Fantasy. And are there any mimics in Elden Ring?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Oh, and there's obviously...
There are in Dark Souls as well.
And in Baldur's Gate 3.
Yes, of course. And Vecna is also voiced by Matthew Mercer, who is the voice of Ganondorf in Tears of the Kingdom.
And he's in a bunch of...
He's in Critical Role.
Yeah, Critical Role.
He is Vincent in Rebirth.
He does a lot of things.
He's done a lot of things.
He's one of the voice actors that they just choose on the list. Him and, what's his name? Troy
Baker.
I was about to say Troy Sivan. No,
Troy Baker.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is the next chapter on D&D, which is out basically next month. There is another one coming later in the year that they teased, which is going to be based on Castlevania. So that means vampires, which I think is the first time that no, I think that's the first time they've added vampires to it, right? I think so.
No idea.
So surely Dracula is going to be the killer, and then you'll get one of the Belmonts as a survivor. Surely. Which I think will be pretty cool. They're also adding a 2v8 party game mode. So instead of 1v4, it'll be 2 killers and 8 survivors, which basically is really chaotic. So it's sort of a party vibe. And that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun for people who want that. And then there are lots of spin-offs coming.
Oh.
The first one is The Casting of Frank Stone, which is the next game from Supermassive, who made The Quarry and Until Dawn. So they are doing another narrative horror game, but it's based in the world of DBD. That's coming later this year. I think people are interested in that. It looks like it might be quite cool. There's a PvE game called Project T that is still a very long way off. And then there is a free game called What the Fog, which is a 2-person co-op roguelike game. And that's available for free if you have a behavior account, which is a very kind of silly little cartoonish roguelike thing for fans of DBD. And that was what they showed at their 8th anniversary stream this week.
Well, thank you for spending time telling us all about it.
You're welcome.
I'm sure there are people that find that interesting.
I think there are a lot of listeners that do play DBD and will be interested to know. So that is why I brought it up.
Great.
Even though I know you don't like it.
Well, true. The other thing we were going to talk about was like that person who was getting a load of shit online because we're going to finish with some happiness.
Oh, sure.
There was a streamer, I don't know her name, unfortunately, and I'm not going to bring it up just in case people start hate finding or whatever, but she was streaming Valorant.
Yep.
And had voice chat because I think you must get thrown in with random people if you don't have a full party. And obviously the voice chat's on, and she was streaming it. And there was a guy in there. She was Australian, I think, and he was Australian. Sorry if they were from New Zealand or anyone, but I believe they were both Australian. And the guy, well, I don't know what he did. There's no excuse for like triggering that at all. But he was like literally making rape threats at her and coming out with some of the most horrific stuff. There is a video. She posted it. So if you want to go and find it, you can find it quite easily.
It's gone viral, so it's everywhere.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, pretty much anybody who's got quite a big voice online and isn't a scumbag has kind of quote tweeted it, and she like denounced it. So you could find it quite easily. I think the guy, I replied to the one that voices Halcyon, Dave Jones. So it was shocking. Like, it was horrendous. Like, it was just the worst stuff. Like, this guy was obviously wanting to make her feel as shit as possible and to be as offensive as he could be to her because she dared. I don't know what she'd done. But
I don't think she did anything. I think she was just a woman online.
Yeah, exactly. And he was doing that, and just like, yeah, you can't. I think people saw that she just said that, oh, I was getting like rape threats and stuff, and then people listened to it, and I think it was worse than what people were even thinking from what she'd written, even though it was exactly what was said. So it was just horrific. And then obviously the internet being the internet had like the majority of replies, or I'd say at least half the replies.
I'll just say quickly before the replies. So she basically, in the video clip, after that, she just closes the game down and ends her stream.
Yeah.
And she followed up afterwards to say that she got a penalty for leaving the game early.
Yeah,
which happens for people when they basically rage quit. But when something like this happens, that is a legitimate reason for not wanting to be in that game, and it's awful that she got the penalty. Now, Riot,
I mean, that's just automatic. Yeah.
Well, it is, and Riot have since gone back and basically apologized and said, like, we will remove that penalty for you.
Yeah.
And have sort of reached out to her directly to say, like, we're really sorry for this and we want to change things.
That's what I was going to eventually come up to, but sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. No, it's fine. Keep going.
No, you carry on. I'm done.
No, she was. No, like I said at the end, there is a bit of positivity about what Riot are responding, and they said that they didn't want to reply, and they didn't want to reply with just some sweet words without having anything to back that up. So now I think they've had internal discussions on how they can kind of sort this out using AI. AI would be great. But anyway, this guy did it. But just the comments on Twitter were exactly as you can imagine, like just based on what we spoke earlier before about Romeo and Juliet. They were just like, so I'm annoyingly in a community notes thing, so I can kind of review. Can you do that?
No.
So I can like rate and give them positives and then like suggest and like I can
Or maybe I
them.
can, I just haven't looked.
No, you'd know if you could, and I don't think you can. I've seen your Twitter, but it's like, and within minutes of that being up there, there was a proposed community note being like, she could have turned off the voice chat. She could have muted him, but she turned it on for content. And it's like, that's victim blaming to, like, literally you are saying that it's her fault that this person is making these rape comments because it's her responsibility to mute him. It's like, no, it's his responsibility for not making offensive rape threats.
Well, exactly.
So it's the amount of people that replied as well saying exactly the same things, like, oh, she's just an attention seeker because she didn't mute him. They'll always blame anybody but people that look like themselves or people that sound like themselves or people that have that kind of mentality like themselves. And it's just depressing. And you see, and anybody that was quote tweeting that, sticking up for her and showing support, literally anybody that was doing that was getting attacked. And even like Losse quote tweeted, and she turned off her replies. And there were people quote tweeting her because she can't turn off the reply. You can't turn off quote tweets. The quote tweeting her being like, "Oh, look at you shunning, turning off debate. You don't believe in free speech." And there were genuinely people in their comments as well saying, in response to the person that posted the video, the streamer, saying like, "Why? It's free speech." And it's just like stuff like that, and you're like, I don't want to be. It makes you not want to be part of gaming, like of the gaming kind of community, because you know that there are so many people that believe like that, think like that. But I also think if you just delete Twitter and never look at Twitter your life's probably going to be a lot better. But then but then you're just being ignorant to the stuff that these people, that like women and minorities, have to put up with.
Well, yeah, you don't want to bury your head in the sand.
No.
It's like you want to feel like you've got some power to do something.
And I appreciate,
and that's what's frustrating about Twitter is that is that then when you report these things, nothing is done.
Absolutely nothing. And luckily, it's like the report and like all of this has kind of made Riot, do something. And but a lot of people have been like saying, "Oh yeah, this has been going on for ages," and they've never really done anything. And it's only because this has gone
I'm sure
viral.
it has, and then it goes viral, and then it gives them a kick up the arse.
Yeah.
Like, of course.
I just really do hope that AI is, what they need to is they need to use AI to kind of listen out for this kind of stuff. There should be a thing where you can report and include like the last 30 seconds or the last minute of what's been said in voice chat. And then there needs to be kind of like full hardware bans.
So all of this, Microsoft are doing.
Oh, good.
Which I wrote about.
Of course, yes, I remember.
Yes, there you go.
But it's also
basically for the about a year ago, Microsoft added a reporting feature where you can basically like record the last minute or whatever and send them a report. And they are now using AI to analyze that, and that AI will listen out for specific sort of toxic phrases and words, and then for like extreme cases or really critical cases, it obviously goes through human checks before anything happens. But they are using AI to help with that. And yes, I think there still needs to be a human touch to understand the nuance of some of that language.
And there'll be some that the AI maybe doesn't spot, and then you might get a report back saying like, "Oh, we didn't do put any action against this person."
Yeah.
When actually it's like, no, I need a human to listen.
And it needs to be trained properly. I think things like a swear word, maybe could be said, fucking this or whatever could be said in a jokey way.
Yeah.
As we probably have done today on the podcast, or whatever. But then there are certain words like maybe the word rape is just automatically like, that's never going to be in a good context. No.
But there's also phrases as well that are not, that you take the words out and they're not bad words, but you put them together like I'm going to find you. Like that kind of phrase, like it's completely harmless in so many other different ways, but like in a certain situation can be incredibly threatening.
And that's when AI is tricky to learn that. I will say as well that I think this is only used when people report.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's always listening. It's just when someone reports stuff, it goes through an AI filter first before it goes to humans. And that will help to speed up the process and help for them to deal with more reports, which is a good thing. But it still relies on people having to report. So I guess ultimately, like if you're on the receiving end of that sort of abuse, which we all hope that we won't be, but if you are, report it. And I know it's something where you're like, I don't want to have to deal with it, and you'd rather just turn it off. But if you report it, in theory, something will be done, or at least this is what Microsoft are doing. They've also got an AI for looking at imagery. So if they see sort of certain toxic symbols and things like that, it gets removed. So that is something they're using AI for. And they've also seen since the reporting thing, and they've got a strike enforcement thing as well. So that depending on how bad the behavior is, you'll get a different level of strike. And they have reported that they've seen a massive decrease, or at least like 80 or 90% of people don't then have another
good
series of bad behavior, which is good.
And if it bans their account, because I mean, these people that are playing these games incredibly toxically, I don't know. In my head, I guess they're not playing on like throwaway accounts because they're really passionate about getting their character or whatever. They're climbing the ranks and stuff like that. So if you ban and delete their account, they're going to be really pissed off. They're not just going to, maybe they'll just create another one, but then they've got to kind of build it up. And I don't know, it becomes maybe not as worth it. So I'm just thinking the fact that I think Valorant's on the Riot launcher. So it's just like Riot games. Whereas if you're doing this kind of stuff on Steam or Microsoft and you lose that account, you're buggered. Well,
that's the thing. It's different platforms.
Yeah.
And, different companies have different ways of dealing with it. So Microsoft announced that this week. And that is something that, could potentially be a good use for AI, at least in that it's assisting. It's not, I don't think, going to completely eradicate this stuff, but it's assisting humans to do a better job.
It's this kind
which
of
is
stuff
fine.
that would have been really useful on Twitter. Like AI using to respond to people's complaints or reports. Like that is, and like you can.
They probably are. Knowing Elon Musk, he probably got rid of a load of people, has made an AI to do it, but the AI doesn't understand it and doesn't do it well enough.
Yeah, I mean, there is an AI
That probably
on there.
is the case.
But I was just saying, like, if he hadn't been in charge, then yeah, you can imagine all the technology that could have been implemented on Twitter to make it a safer and a nicer place.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah, but no, the world's going to shit. But hopefully, if Microsoft are doing this and Riot are working on that, and then fingers crossed, other companies and games that use voice chat, yeah, then hopefully that can be improved. Because it's like I don't like voice chatting on games. You hate it. You don't even like text writing.
I don't even like multiplayer games.
No, exactly.
Because I don't want to deal with that.
But if I'm playing a multiplayer game and I know that everyone in that game is going to be quite friendly and supportive, and they know that there's going to be a kind of like bans if they're not, I'd be more inclined to play that kind of stuff. So, yeah, let's hope. Just get rid of the toxic, racist, misogynistic people, assholes out of life. Just get them to lock them in their basement and take away their internet.
Why is that so hard?
It really is. Anyway, speaking of being a dick, I wanted to finish this early because I've got work tomorrow, and we've ended up wittering.
Oh, we've had
till
a big run, haven't
11. We have. We've been streaming for nearly 2 hours, so
God.
we should definitely stop it there because I'm going to be tired tomorrow.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. So thank you very much for listening. If you made it this far, then congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Really appreciate it. Ed, where can we find you? Well, what next podcast going to be next week? Anything special happening in the next week before we just quickly suddenly end it? Or
No, but there won't be a podcast the week after that.
Your single use code. I've got a Microsoft code that's request, so someone's trying to log into my account.
Oh, lovely.
But luckily they can't because they don't have my code. Well, we could record it on the Tuesday.
Maybe.
Because I'll be doing streams.
I'm off in a couple of weeks on a thing. So.
Yeah. Lucky for some.
Yes.
Oh, it's the whole. Yeah, no, we'll record it early that following week because we don't miss. Well, we do, but we're not this time. Yeah, and then Friday Night Wrestling's tomorrow. We're meeting my friend on Saturday. Sunday we're going to see your parents, and Monday I'm going to get my tooth fixed.
Great. So the next week will be another 2-hour chat about something.
About my tooth.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah. Now I'm going to try and play a game that. Maybe I'll try and play a new game.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, maybe not.
Maybe you should finish one.
No, I mean, I'm playing so many games at the moment that I'm saving them for stream, like Baldur's Gate 3, Breath of the Wild, Elden Ring, not Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and Elden Ring. They're all games that I want to play. Well,
you better hurry up and play them then.
I'm not streaming all the time. You'd get pissed off if I was like, okay, I'm going to stream every single day.
True.
So don't, be careful what you wish for.
Where can people find you, Ben?
Find me on Twitch at Biggest Benners, Twitter, Biggest Benners1, and just go to swappingjoysticks.com if you want to check out all our old podcasts and, including our YouTube playlist. Ed, where can we find you?
You can find me at ed_nights everywhere.
Excellent. Don't forget to follow us at Swap Joysticks on Twitter. We need to post more on there, I think, but I will let you do that.
Oh, thanks.
All right. Also, we're going to be at TwitchCon. Not Swapping Joysticks, but I will be there, and we've got a stand, and I might be giving people capes.
Gosh capes.
Not cakes, as someone was asking, capes. All right. Have a good one. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.